Brooke, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me on here. I'm so excited.
As we just said before we hit record, it's so cool to finally, you follow someone online and you kind of follow what you do and you kind of feel like you know them in a way, and you can
I
finally
know.
meet
Yes.
virtually in person. So that's so great.
Yeah.
I'm so excited to have you.
I'm excited to talk to you guys. Again, I was just saying before we recorded this that I looked at all of your episodes today, and I was so excited because you can instantly kind of tell once you kind of see someone speak in the way that they kind of interact with people if you're gonna get along really well with them. And I was like, these girls, they get it. So I think it should be a fun episode.
Yeah, man. We think that's what I mean. Like just following you. I'm like, she gets it. Like, yeah,
Yes.
we can't wait to get into it.
Oh, great.
So I guess to start things off, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and sort of, your earliest experiences with music? I guess, what did you grow up listening to?
Yeah, so when I was pretty young, I wasn't exposed to too much music other than kind of more Christian type music. And one day when I was about 7 or 8, I factually went to my dad's closet and I found Kiss Alive 2 on cassette.
Oh,
And so, I took that knowing like, what is this? Like when you've been growing up with like Amy Grant, you're not used to rock and roll. And so I said, these are 4 guys in makeup and I absolutely need to listen to this right now. So I went upstairs and I put the cassette in, and instantly, I think Detroit Rock City was the first song that came on. And I still remember it to this day because it was such a, like, I don't know, you guys probably understand that, but when it hits you for the first time, your whole world kind of opens up for the first time and you start seeing everything different. And I remember even at that age thinking, yeah, my life's never probably going to be the same again because this is completely like my passion now.
right.
And so that's kind of some of my earliest memories of getting into it. And I've just kind of always been obsessed with learning everything I can possibly learn about it. And, in junior high and high school, I would literally just lock myself in my room and I'm going to learn about this band obsessively all day, every day. And then I'm going to know everything about like when they were born. You guys get it?
Yes. Writing out lyrics. Yeah.
Yes. I'm like, it's not just enough to know their music. I need to know every detail about them, no matter how like kind of, it doesn't even matter if it's an important detail. I just have to know it. And so yeah, so that was kind of my obsession. I thought, oh, I'll be a music historian someday. And so that was kind of what I thought was going to happen. And then I worked in the fashion industry for 3 years. I worked full time, and it was great experience because it's definitely helped me now with what I do. But I wasn't passionate about sort of the kinds of clothes that I was exposed to. It was just, trendy stuff and things that would come in and out, which was fine. But I knew that I just knew that there was so much more that wasn't being seen. And so one day I was like, okay, well, I have this leather vest and I'm just going to paint it and just see what happens. So I used like the crappiest paint ever. I still have that vest framed and you can see all like the paint's like peeling off of it because I didn't know like what to use. But I put rock and roll on the back of it and I wore it to a Whitesnake concert. And so many people came up to me and they were like, oh, can I take a picture of your vest? I didn't even remember half the show because everyone wanted to take a picture of my back. So I was just kind of like standing around, sure, you can take a picture of it. Sure, you can take a picture of it. But I just remember the sense of empowerment that I felt, just being like, I know that like what I'm wearing is not only created by me, but it's something that no one else is going to have. And it's something that I don't even have to say anything. Everyone's going to look at it and go, she gets it. Like we were talking about earlier, you don't even have to say anything. And I like that. So that was kind of the beginning of it. And so, yeah, I wasn't planning on making it a business or anything. I'd been making my own clothes for like or painting my own like custom pieces for a few years, until my mom actually encouraged me to sell it. And I was like, I don't think I don't think people would really care. And she goes, just try it, you know? So at the end of 2017, which I just celebrated my 4-year too, so we're kind of on the same time period. I just put some stuff up, and then I think a Tom Petty jacket was the first one that I sold. And then ever since then, it sort of just like took off, and it was great. I quit my full-time job and I was like, I'm going to make this my thing. You know, I'm going to make it work. So yeah.
Well, congratulations on 4 years.
Awesome. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's a long time, but it also goes by super quick. So
It does. When you love what you're doing, as you guys know, it doesn't even, of course, there's going to be low points, but when you love it, you just make it work. You know, you think of new ways to make it exciting and to fuel your passion for it. So
Yeah. She and I, we both, you know, in the different skill sets that we have, like in our careers, when we write about music or we talk about music or we get to create things around people who create music, it really propels us to do the other things in a professional career. So with you in fashion, it really just kind of accelerates like what you're doing and the things that you can make. And that's kind of what we found our podcast has done for us, is that it allows us to kind of bring that next little bit of facilitation amongst our community and the business. But I mean, we kind of fell ass backwards into it like you did. Right.
Really?
Well, we were just getting to know each other, and we just decided to hit record one night just to kind of see what would happen. We both made content. We both like to chat about music, but it was only after we started to get a couple of awards just randomly without too much effort, just doing what we like to do.
Wow. Yeah.
And now I think, looking at it 4 years in, looking at what we do now professionally, I think we both get off a little bit more when we get to write about music and get to talk to musicians and get to like wear rock and roll clothes, because that's really who we are. And when you said something about when you found that Kiss tape, even now sometimes, like we went out to a Kiss New Year's thing just this past year.
Nice.
And there's something about like putting on the makeup and listening to music that you listen to when you started like feeling like you're becoming who you are, that sometimes like I'll just put on something and I go, wait a second, I remember who I am, and it helps me get through the workday or through whatever things I'm going through. So I find it interesting how you can evolve in business, but what it does for you personally too, music. So
right. Absolutely. Yeah. And it's interesting too, how you can meld different aspects of your life, and different passions and different things. Even if it was a job that you didn't necessarily love, it's always, you can use something in it. You know what I mean? You can somehow combine them to like things that you never thought you would ever use again. Like, oh, that was a terrible job, or that was a terrible whatever. Somehow it comes back into your life and you're like, wow, I could actually use that. That's amazing. Yeah. And music's always the glue that holds it all together, isn't it?
Well, I mean, I'm sure with yourself, like in fashion, you're always looking for certain materials, sources, suppliers, distributors. And I mean, no matter what kind of business you're in, learning how to do that operationally and just as an entrepreneur, whether you've worked at coffee shops, at grocery, like whatever it is, all of that stuff comes in completely handy.
Totally.
And
absolutely,
we've been kind of learning that a little bit as we go. Yeah. So
it's a learning process. I mean, even after 4 years, I'm sure you guys totally agree. You don't have it down to a science. I mean, you kind of have an idea of what you're doing, but you're still not 100% there. I mean, you're always learning things every day, what works and what doesn't work, and where you want to take it too.
Yeah, that's right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about the clothes you make. So if anyone, that goes through to the Thunderstruck Instagram or to your online store, there's an ongoing theme. So I guess, so how do you pull, how do you get your inspiration? Like, how do you decide what to do with a piece of clothing, what kind of artists to draw inspiration from? I guess, can you tell us a little bit about that creative process?
Sure. Yeah. So part of it, part of the advantage of kind of what I was telling you, when in junior high and high school, when I would be studying these artists, it wasn't just their life and their music, but it was also their stage wear, which I wasn't conscious of at the time. And now it's funny because I'll see something like a vintage kimono, right? And I'll think Robert Plant wore something like that, 1975 at Madison Square Garden. Or I'll say, God, Rod Stewart wore that on the cover of such and such album. And so these little, and maybe it's a photographic memory that helps, but sometimes when I see a piece, I just instantly think of so and so wore that on stage this year. Someone wore that in a photo shoot. And so I like to incorporate actual pieces that remind me of things that actual rock stars and actual musicians wore, because I think it's so special to kind of bring that into a modern day kind of a environment and carry on kind of, even though, you know, it's not the 70s, mentally I'm still in the 70s, and I'm going to bring it, you know what I mean? I'm going to bring it to the masses as much as I can. And so part of it is from musicians and bands of the past. Part of it is just what I fall into at the time, you know? I know a lot of people, they like to request certain like bands and artists, and they want me to do certain ones so bad. And I can't make anything that I don't really love. I want to sometimes, because I know, you know, there's certain variety that people want, but it's like, if I'm not passionate about it, if I don't really know the music, if I don't really know the musician well, it's not going to come out the way that I want it to come out. And so I can really only make things that I'm super knowledgeable about and super passionate about. So, yeah, it's kind of whatever I'm listening to, you know, and it's kind of obvious too when I'm going through a phase, because that's like what it'll come out as, you know, if I'm going through a Prince phase, all of a sudden you're going to see, you know, 3 Prince jackets come out, because I'm kind of in that like Prince mode. And so yeah, it's just kind of whatever I'm passionate about, or if I, you know, learn more about a new musician, I'm like, oh, I got to make something about them. You know, I was never into like Harry Styles, for instance, never really something that resonated with me. But then last year, I don't know what hit me, but then I was just in this hole, like this Harry Styles thing. And I go, I got to make jackets about Harry Styles right now. And so it's just kind of whatever I'm listening to, whatever I'm passionate about, and whatever kind of reminds me of something that I've seen before.
Right.
Yeah.
And I guess, can you tell us a little bit about your customers and kind of the community you sell to? Because again, you know, the 70s classic rock and roll styles, it's a unique one, right? And again, there is a community and a niche of people, us included, that love that style. And we're always seeking pieces, which are often hard to find, right? So I guess, can you tell us about sort of your customers and kind of what you've gotten to know about them over the past 4 years?
Yes. Well, my Instagram bio for Thunderstruck is threads for unconventional individuals. And that pretty much summarizes the kind of people that end up, you know, coming across Thunderstruck and really resonating with it. It's a really cool group of people, you know, they are really all very different. I mean, they have the same interests in terms of music, but they're from all over. They have all different types of lifestyles, and that one thing just like bonds us all together. But I kind of like, it's like, I don't know, it's a really cool mixture of all types of people. And that's my kind of people, you know, that's the kind of people I hang out with in real life. It's not really a set group, or it's not a certain type of person. It's a little bit of this, a little bit of that, like it's the spice, you know? And that's kind of like the kind of people that have come across Thunderstruck. And I love getting to know them all too. I mean, you get people in their 70s, you get people in their like teens, and I love to learn about them and learn about their life and see the way that they style the pieces, because it's always different, you know, like depending on the age of the person too. And so it's great. It's just a bunch of like kind of like strange people, and it's great. I love it. Yeah.
So you also, if I recall correctly, I remember seeing you had some famous rock and roll clientele to wear some pieces. I believe I think it was Luke from the Struts wearing one of your kimonos one time. How cool was that to get like an order from?
It was awesome. Yeah. So I have a lot of people from like Los Angeles, like who play, you know, the Troubadour and the Viper Room, and they have me make custom suits for them, which I love. But yeah, so Luke was actually the first kind of bigger musician to come across. He actually like naturally came across my page on it, and it was actually pretty close after I think I started my business in September of 2017, and he followed in like July of 2018. So I hadn't even really been open very long, and he wanted a custom like Freddie Mercury Queen jacket. which was awesome. And so I made him a black denim jacket, and it said guaranteed to blow your mind on the back, and it had like a picture of Freddie. And so that was cool. He wore that in Australia on their tour, and it was cool to see it in like interviews. It was very strange. I'm like, did I make that? So that was a cool thing. And then yeah, he's been a great support. He wanted me to make him a custom kimono that you saw and a couple other pieces, but it's great. He's been an amazing support ever since I started, pretty much. So
yeah. Just to have like, you know, him naturally, like you didn't reach out, like so he just stumbled across your page just through naturally.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah. It was great. I was surprised. I remember actually he followed me on the 4th of July.
Wow.
And I was about to go out on a boat, and I saw Luke followed me, and I was like, is this real? Is someone playing a joke on me? But it was him, and it was a great surprise. So yeah.
Yeah, that's exciting. Like, I don't know. I really like that you are choosy about the things that you make. You know, a lot of people could choose to make things that they know they could make money off of really quickly, or like an artist that might be, you know, like if you want to do a bunch of Billie Eilish jackets or something, like, you know, they'll sell, but if you don't super close to the artist, I mean, there's probably a bunch of other folks going to make those jackets. And I like that you
Absolutely
true to yourself. And I also like how gracious you are about the people that come to you, because again, you could be making it rain and DMing a bunch of people saying, you know, I can make you these things. But I think, like you said, starting in 2017, you're very humble about the stuff that you make, and it's a testament of who you are. And I think that's really cool. I really appreciate that. And you don't get to see that a lot, especially like after the pandemic. People, their livelihoods were at stake. They had to do things, you know, online businesses, hosting, shipping costs a lot of money. It can be a huge barrier for a lot of customers, right? And a lot of businesses went under, and a lot of people, I wouldn't say sold out, but I mean, you sell the pieces that are going to sell, aside from making the Prince jackets that they love.
Right. They did what they had to do. And I think you're totally right. People do get into that headspace of, well, you know, if I slap a picture of, like you said, Billie Eilish, or if I do something, Machine Gun Kelly or something, I know it's going to sell. But it's like, if I don't like it, if I don't listen to it, then I'd rather forego it and do something that I'm actually passionate about, because I know that I'm going to be able to put 100% into it. And that's the most important thing, you know? So thank you for saying that. And that was really sweet of you.
Yeah, I keep doing that, because honestly, if, like, I know when people say like, be authentic, things will work out. But honestly, I think anybody that we've met or talked to, that seems to be it. Just keep doing what you like to do, and don't try to, you know, force it too much, and do the part you like doing of it, and everything else will come through hard work. And
I agree. And also I think that like I see some clothing businesses that sort of started around the time that I did, and they've got so many more followers, they've got so many more customers. And I think to myself sometimes, like, what am I doing wrong? But then I remember, I want the right kind of people here, and the right kind of people are going to be the people who resonate with it. They're going to be the people who sense the authenticity, and that's who they are. They're not just going to jump on something because it's trendy. They're not going to jump on something because it's what everyone else is wearing. I feel like I have very authentic people who do follow me, and that's the most I could ever ask for. You know, people respond to that, and people can see through it too.
I think it also creates a more nurtured community too. Because I mean, again, whether you're the best rock and roll fashion designer or the best podcast, whether you've got 100,000 followers or a couple hundred, how you actually talk to those people, whether you're able to even answer their inquiries or see if they're even qualified buyers, that really makes the difference in your recurring revenue. Right.
Absolutely.
And we would rather have maybe 100 people who potentially listen to our show, aside from 100,000 followers who never click the download button.
Absolutely. Yes, you said it.
And we've learned that a lot through the businesses that we work at on our side lives professionally. And I think that that's a big thing that we've had to just make sure that we record with the people that we want to record with, not with maybe what's trending or who's maybe available. Sometimes we do it ourselves because it's time for us just to hang out and have quality time.
Yeah.
And, you know, when you do that, people tend to refer your business or your podcast, and
Yes.
the word of mouth goes a lot further, because people are just genuinely thrilled to say, hey, have you listened to this? Or have you heard from
Yeah.
this person who's making these phenomenal clothes?
Because it's about the relationship, right? I mean, you're building something deeper with people than just, oh, they're just a customer. Oh, they're just a person buying my clothes, wearing my clothes. Like it's the same for you guys too. It's about the relationship with the person. I care about who wears my stuff. I genuinely care about where do these people come from? Where are they wearing this? Like, who are they? Like, I genuinely want to know that kind of thing. And that's the kind of stuff that's going to, like you said, build relationships with people. And that's going to last a lot longer than kind of more of a surface level approach.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, good on you. Keep doing exactly what you're doing, because it doesn't matter how many people follow or not. I mean, I call, in the business that, like, we're always talking about, we call them white whale clients. You know, a client like Adam, who says, when somebody says, oh, who made you the jacket, could get you more business than getting 100,000 followers that year going to your website.
Exactly.
And how humble you are to that, I think, really speaks a volume to you as an entrepreneur. So even just talking to you, I think you're a huge breath of fresh air to the space and to the industry. And the more that you just keep doing what you do, I think it'll be an inspiration for others to make sure that they're, I don't know, making good shit. Because I mean,
thank you.
I mean, like, we're in Canada here. I mean, I'm sure that there's the same stores, but like, you can go to an H&M and a Blue Notes and buy Nirvana and Led Zeppelin shirts and stuff now. You can also go to other shops and buy them for $150 for and they're really on the same block. And you know, how you're incorporating that fashion and how people wear, I think that's huge. And so, you know, we're always going to be avid eco-conscious people when we're buying things. So we'll be very avid about referring you.
Oh, thank you. That really means a lot to me. Thank you.
Like, your stuff's like chef's kiss. Like,
oh my gosh, thank you.
Yeah, like, if
thank
we
you
ever
so
make time, we're just hired. You will be our stylist. So it's recorded.
You got it, girls. You got it.
No.
Done.
I feel like this whole conversation is like kindred spirits meeting. And like, and
absolutely.
And Kate and I have talked about this on the show before too, that there's a lot of, it's hard to find a lot of women who like rock and roll, particularly classic rock and roll. And I think the reason, you know, like, hearing your story of how you discovered music, like, you know, how you heard Kiss, you know, Detroit Rock City, and you knew things weren't going to be the same. Like, I had that experience too, like hearing the Beatles and like hearing Bob Dylan. Right. And it's like, it's so interesting. Like, it's so cool to know that you're like, oh, I'm not crazy. This isn't like this weird thing. Right. And and I think, you know, it's interesting because, you know, online now on social media and Instagram, you kind of, it's easy for you to find your niche, like, because of the algorithm, you find people that like similar stuff as you, or, you know, they like the same posts. And I think how I discovered your page was through, you know, other girls, like women I follow that, you know, love classic rock and roll. They have cool style, they post awesome content. And I think it's just so interesting how, like, you know, like with your business and just people, you know, just the community, I guess, that's kind of been created online for people that, you know, who were just like, you know, I remember being made fun of in middle school for liking the Beatles, you know.
Absolutely.
And then
absolutely.
and then Across the Universe came out in high school, and then everyone's a Beatles fan, right? Like, so it's really cool. Just, I don't know, I'm just having this weird, like, holy shit moment around.
It's nice.
That's awesome.
When you connect with people, and I don't know, women, I hear this a lot. Correct me if I'm wrong, it might be the same, but a lot of women say, I have a hard time having other women friends, or at least women that they really, really thoroughly enjoy hanging out with. And when I met Charisse 6 years ago now, we met, and really quickly we found out that we both shared a love of record collections and Canadian classic rock. And it was really weird for our age, because most women our age were listening to, like, I don't know, Pitbull on Spotify, which is props to Pitbull.
Yeah.
But it's not like they were throwing on April Wine when they got home, and like, it wasn't their thing. Right. And so we really quickly bonded over that. And I think that that's a big thing for women. And even with a lot of the musicians and stuff that we meet, it's still sometimes to have that. So we'll be looking to maybe come out and visit you when travel stuff is coming out. We'll come out.
Or I'll come over there and visit you guys.
Yes.
Come over anytime.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's
show
so
you
much
around.
room here, so much space. It's cheap. It's good. Come over. We have lots of great stores. You can
Perfect.
pick up some great stuff. Yeah.
Okay. All right. You got it.
So I guess speaking of, things opening up, borders and whatnot, but as you probably know, one of the things we always talk to guests about is concert and show memories. I guess if you can think of any, what are some of the best, concerts you ever been to, or any particular, memories from shows in the past that stand out?
Oh man. Oh, okay, man. You go back years and you think about which ones do I want to highlight, because there's so many good ones. Okay, I'll tell you a few of them. First one, seeing Paul McCartney, because we just talked about the Beatles. In 2013, he was playing Safeco Field. Was it 2013? God, something like that. He was playing Safeco Field in Seattle. And it was the first time seeing him. And Paul McCartney's like on the top, like probably 5 most influential musicians to me. And I got it was like terrible seats, but it wasn't even like, you don't even think about that when you think about the memory, because it was such. Have you guys seen Paul McCartney?
We have not. He's played around here, but never got a chance.
You got to. They start off with like his bass, his like famous thing comes up on the screen, and like from that moment you just get chills, and your chills don't stop through the whole show. And he did the song Here Today, which he wrote for John, who passed, and it was basically all the things that he wished he could have said to him that he didn't before he passed away. And I just remember sitting like in the middle of an aisle, and I was just in tears. It was such an emotional moment to hear him say, like, if you have something to say to someone, like, tell them now before it's too late. And I don't know why, it was just kind of like, you weren't expecting it in the middle of like all this happy music, something so somber and like touching. But that was like a ton of bricks hit you in that moment. I was like, oh my gosh. So I ended up getting it tattooed on my arm, but that was definitely a standout. Recently, I saw Guns N' Roses for the second time.
Nice.
And it was a strange experience. We were up there in the stands, and it was super hot. It's probably, Fahrenheit. It was like 100 degrees. And some guy came up to us and said, hey, you should move down. You can have our seats. So we moved down, and then we sat next to this guy. He goes, hey, you want to go on the floor? I have 2 extra seats. So we were like, okay. It was just kind of a strange coincidence. It kept happening. And then we went on the floor, and the security guard said, I'm going to get you into the pit. We weren't even like trying, but for some reason we got upgraded 3 times. We started at the top of the stadium, and we ended up in front row by the stage. So that was just kind of a strange coincidence of, if we had sat by any other people, we wouldn't have even had that experience. But that just goes to show you can have kind of a touching and important concert experience, whether you're on the last row or the front row. And that those were like 2 totally different scenarios that were so impactful in their own way. God, I'm trying to think about who else. Pretty much all the classics pretty much lived up to my expectation, and then some. God. We saw Robert Plant a couple years ago. That was interesting because he had Greta Thunberg come on. And I live in kind of a conservative area, and everyone started booing because they're like super, Republican and stuff.
Wow.
But it was like, so I didn't think he was even going to come on stage, because they were booing. Almost every single person at the venue was booing. And so that moment I thought, if he doesn't come out here, I wouldn't be surprised, because if you had that many people, I mean, he's a legend, you guys. And like that, and it was crazy, but he ended up being good. It was nothing like Led Zeppelin though. It was kind of his new band. Have you guys heard his new band?
Yeah, he actually played up at Harvest Jazz and Blues Festival here, I think in 2019, before the pandemic, in Fredericton here. And a lot of people that went said that, it was he played a couple Zeppelin songs just to satisfy, and then the rest was just kind of his own thing. Because when you think about it, and he said this in interviews, is this like, I've been doing my own thing longer than I was actually in Led Zeppelin at this point, guys.
Wow, yeah. No, totally. Yeah. I think if anyone was to say, oh, how was Robert Plant? I would say if you're looking to see Led Zeppelin, you're not going to.
No.
But if you just want to hear Robert Plant, see a legend, and hear some cool music, go, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, so what about you guys? What are some of your like kind of standout concert moments?
Yeah. I think my first one was standout one. First one, I guess the first time I saw Bob Dylan, and this is sort of to your point of, it doesn't matter where you are or what was going on. And like throughout Strange Grooves lore, I've talked about this show. And every time we've had a guest that's from, here in St. John that was at that show too, they've all said, that was a fucking terrible show. What the hell? But
Really?
yeah, well, it was this close to his birthday and like people were complaining that I didn't leave, like, cause he was playing at his piano the whole time, whatever. But me, I was like, I think 16. And I remember like screaming. My parents thought something was wrong when I found out the station here. And I think, oh man, I remember my friend and I at the time, we made like, those number one foam fingers you'd see at hockey games. We had ones with like Bob and Dylan on it.
Yes.
And like, we were like, I think fourth row back, or like 4 or 5 rows back. So we were pretty close. And like, I just remember like him coming on stage the whole time. Like, I remember I cried most of the show. Like it was too much. I felt like, and it was the best thing ever. And he played, like, he had a great set list and everything. It was just everything I wanted. And, and it still sticks, with me. And it's just so funny now how people, and objectively, because I've seen him several other times since, it was not a great show, but for me, I've seen, like, when you see Bob Dylan on, you're like, oh shit.
Right.
And then, but it was the first time I saw him. And I guess maybe besides when her and I went to see Fleetwood Mac before in 2019, I saw him again we drove down to Portland, and I ended up in the front row last minute, like during the encore, when he was playing and Blowing in the Wind, people broke down the gate, and I was up front, and again crying like I was when I was 16.
Oh my gosh.
And at the end, he left his piano and he was like standing at the mic doing his thing, and at the end he kind of like, he stood and he like looked in our direction, like at the odd, like us delinquents that broke through the and he was just kind of had this look on his face, and I was like, oh my God. Like he looked in my direction. Like
that's amazing. So I feel like that triggers a memory for me of seeing Elton John at the end of 2019. That was one of the most impactful shows I've ever seen. I was not expecting at all for it to be as emotional as it was. I was just sitting down, waiting for the show to start. It was all fine. And then the lights went off. And then the beginning chords of Benny and the Jets came on. And you know how iconic that is. But it was completely black still. The lights hadn't come on. So it was just that dun, dun. And then everyone just started freaking out. And instantly I started crying. Because it was the same thing kind of like with Bob Dylan. This is really the person. Like, you're actually looking at them in real life. It's such a surreal moment. And then to have that, you probably had it through the whole show. And I feel the same way about the Elton John show of, is this serious? Like, you think about their history too. You're going back like, this is the same person who played this and this show. They were best friends with Freddie Mercury. Is this real life? And you're seeing them, you're actually seeing them. It's never, no matter how many shows you see, it never becomes less crazy.
100%.
Yeah.
How about you, Kate? What are your holy shit concert moments?
Oh my goodness. I don't know. I've been pretty blessed to have been able to go to a lot of shows. And I remember, I think it was last year, I started making a list of all the bands that I'd seen. And then I felt really like an asshole, kind of, because I'd actually, when you go to festivals, especially a lot, you sometimes get to see so many bands that you don't really get to absorb that you've seen them. And then you'll see on a show poster that you actually even forgot about seeing a band sometimes. So I started going through all those old festivals and trying to like think of who did I see, who didn't I see? And I've been going through that list over the past week. And one of them that was actually really cool was seeing like Joan Jett. That one was really cool.
Oh, yeah.
Seeing her play. That one was really cool. I grew up obviously listening to my dad's music collection, like Kiss, everything like that. But when I started getting into music myself, it was a lot of like punk rock, Misfits, Iggy Pop, Dead
Cool.
Kennedys, a lot of that. So I went to a lot of festivals to see bands like that.
Yeah.
I would say getting to see like Tool was really amazing for me. Tool and Primus, those are bands that I really liked like listening to, and they never came here. So I usually had to travel like 10 or so hours.
Oh
Usually
my
now we're
God.
starting to get a little bit luckier. But
Okay.
we don't get a lot of big concerts here. Usually have
Oh,
to
really?
yeah, I usually have to travel over to like Maine, which is only like 4 or 5 hours.
Montreal.
Montreal is about 10. Like when we went to Quebec City, it was about 12 hours.
Yeah.
So
The drive. Yeah.
to
we flew.
drive.
Do you guys go together?
Yep.
Yeah. Like, well, I haven't been
Cool.
to a Primus show yet. I'm
No.
sure that's going to happen eventually.
Yes.
But like
Awesome.
seeing like Alice Cooper, like I've seen Alice Cooper 3 or 4 times.
So good live.
And like, you know, I've seen Guar. Like I really love like a lot of like heavy metal and stuff like that. But some memorable ones I'd say, like I just posted about it actually, was seeing Chicago. Like
Oh, cool.
I love like old like big bands and like horns and stuff like that. And I'm a huge Steely Dan fan, like yacht rock. And like Chicago and all that is like, and I got to see them front row, literally by myself because I was at a trade expo and all the people around me were super old and eating like chicken wings. Literally just in the front of Chicago playing. And I got to meet them.
Awesome.
It was really cool. I got to meet the Jeff Goldblum band in California
Yes.
when I was there a couple of weeks.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, she got a video of him saying "Keep it strange," our slogan.
It's
and
super. Yeah, it's one of
iconic.
those things like you're in a place and you're not looking to try to, and it just happened. They were like, "Come
Just
on,
happens.
front row, come meet this person," and it just, you know. So I've had some memorable and really blessed experiences that way.
Yeah.
You know, and I've gotten to see a lot of like, you know, Canadian bands that are honestly like, even out of a lot of the like big concerts I've seen, some of the like local musicians are still some of my favorite shows because of the
Yeah.
community that and like the all ages crew that go. There's just like a certain vibe of people feeling those things that you were talking about earlier, about discovering themselves, about realizing like maybe they really hate their job but they love this music and it helps keep them going. It helps bridge the rough and good days.
Yep.
And I find sometimes, I think some of those are maybe some of my more favorite experiences than some of the big, like Fleetwood Mac, seeing Stevie Nicks. Don't get me wrong, phenomenal experience.
Yeah.
But you know, seeing like, and you may not know who these people are, but like seeing Blue Rodeo, which is a famous Canadian band, seeing them play and like them bringing their son out, it's like a full circle. That to me was a really fun concert. So I guess it just depends on the vibe. And I think that's probably why everyone who loves music the way they do have such a personal and strong connection with it.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, they're the unconventional folks, the folks who get goosebumps still when they listen to it, who will do new things when they're listening to their headphones and will text each other about it and stuff. Like that's who I like to become friends with, right?
And like I feel like the stadium and the arena tours are so, well, obviously they're so different from the smaller venues, but they're both special in their own way, right? I mean, like the bigger shows, there's just this massive amount of excitement and everybody knows they're seeing a legend, and there's something so special about that because everyone's kind of like feeding off each other's energy. But then the smaller shows, it's like you see a few super dedicated people, you see like some people just hanging out, but there's still its own energy. It's just different from a bigger show, but it's still special in its own way because you feel more connected with the artist that way. You feel like you can like talk to people easier. But yeah, they both have their own thing. But I think, like you said, music is like escapism for people. So however they can get it, you know, is a good thing.
Yeah, that's exactly how we feel too.
Ned.
Like Charisse, she said, you know, it's an equalizer, right? And that's kind of the same that we find with fashion. And I know like probably yourself and like with Charisse growing up, especially here in St. John, like we didn't really have any a Hot Topic was like years and years down the road. You couldn't find hair dye. You had to dye your hair with Kool-Aid. Like it was, you know, you had to paint your stuff to have cool stuff. You had to go into band shirts and then sew them onto your vests and things to have your own sense of style. But it's interesting now because you're starting to see these, you know, commercialized stores selling really grungy retro style things, but they just don't hit the friggin' mark. You know what I mean?
Oh.
And having some of those signature capsule pieces. I mean, we know some really amazing women who are in their 70s that have some of the coolest jean jackets and leather jackets.
Really?
And
Cool.
and like there's a reason why clothing like you're creating is you know, it's a, what would you call it, like a capsule piece.
It's timeless in a way.
It's timeless.
Thank you.
Yeah, like we're definitely going to be getting a piece, like,
Yes.
so that we can, you know, rock it.
I would love to make you one. I'd love it.
Gosh, yes. No, I'm always stalking. I'm always stalking here.
Yeah.
When you're like, when you tease that there's like, you're dropping a new piece, I'm like, ooh, what's it be? He's like,
Yeah.
The 24-hour notice.
Yes. I'm like, good, because I need to be prepared.
That's awesome.
So I guess if you listen to our last episode of Strange Goose, you know, you might have known that we introduced kind of a little new segment along with our popular desert island discs that we always ask guests. So do you, first of all, I shouldn't assume, do you use Spotify? Like, do you have a Spotify account?
I don't have Spotify. I know it's a rare, strange thing, but I don't have it.
Do you stream at all, or are you more of a?
Most of my music is in physical form, but I do have like Pandora Premium, where that's like pretty much the only sort of streaming that I do.
That's so cool. So I guess if you know, since we can tailor the question a bit, I guess what's a recent song that you just discovered while streaming that you were like, oh shit, and you like found out what it was, wrote it down? Yeah.
Okay, man, I'm trying to choose which one. So you guys know, so before Prince went on his own, he was in a band called The Time. Have you guys heard of that?
I didn't know.
He was with Morris Day. He was in the Purple Rain movie. He's like he's not like the villain, but he's sort of like their rival band. But yeah, so Prince and Morris Day were in this band called The Time. Anyway, they had a song came on while I was on like kind of like the Prince radio. And I was like, this sounds like Prince, but I know it's not Prince. And it was Jesse Johnson. I go, why is it so familiar? Well, he was a guitarist at the time. And I didn't know that. So they all kind of had this like similar sound at the time. And it could be like swapped out. Like you could have said it was Prince and I would have said, okay. But it's really good. And it's called Free World. And it just gets me going. I listen to it every morning. It's kind of like every morning I listen to James Brown, and it's going to be added to my list of things that help me wake up in the morning. Yeah. What about you guys?
Last song that I saved. Let me check my phone.
I want to know. I want to listen to it.
The last one I saved to my phone was Let's Groove by Earth, Wind and Fire.
Once again, chef's kiss.
Yeah, we're getting ready for our big disco costume party
Yes.
this weekend. And so I've been trying to like get myself into like the super vibe. So I was like, yeah, that's a good one.
Right.
Are you guys hosting it?
Yeah.
Yes.
You are? Cool.
Yeah. It'll probably have already happened by the time this episode drops, but yes, we're sure it's going to be a good time.
Yeah,
Pictures
it's
in the
going to be
future.
so much fun.
So the song that I last saved, it's actually not a classic rock song. It's actually a song that I heard in the car while I took a trip to Halifax, Nova Scotia, visiting a friend. And my friend was, we were in her car, and it's Same Drugs by Chance the Rapper.
Okay, I'm gonna listen to it because people always tell me to listen to Chance the Rapper, and I just haven't had the time to get into it, but I need to make time.
Yeah, like I had friends that, like, again, it's not, you know, I love, like I have some rap on my playlist, absolutely, but it's not, I just never really, again, didn't really have the chance to listen to them. But then like I heard this song and I'm like, shit, like it's a great song. So highly recommend, check it out if you want to get into them.
I will. Thank you.
Yeah. Did you said what yours was?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So moment of truth. Now I'm very curious what your answers are. 3 discs, 3 records that you would bring with you to a desert island. What will they be and why?
Okay. Why didn't I think about this? I know one of them, my favorite album of all time, is Tranquility Base Hotel and Casino by Arctic Monkeys, their latest release. Nothing like the music. Have you guys heard it?
Yes.
It's a very polarizing album. People either love it or hate it because it's like nothing like their previous stuff. But that like lounge vibe is everything that I need in my life. So definitely that album. Probably, oh man, probably Revolver, just because I have to have a Beatles album on there.
Yeah.
Like I can't survive on an island without the Beatles. And maybe Venus and Mars by Wings. That's another album that I'm like kind of obsessed with. I know it's kind of still in the Beatles-ish family because of Paul McCartney, but yeah, probably those three. I haven't had a lot of time to think about it, but that's what I'm going with for now.
Totally fair. Our answers change like
All the
time.
Yes.
Yeah, that's interesting. Revolver. Revolver is one of my favorite Beatles albums too. It's one that's like I feel like isn't mentioned a lot. It doesn't get a lot of love. It's very underappreciated.
I agree. Every single song on that album could have been a single. It's perfect. Honestly, underrated.
No, I agree.
Well, thank you so much, Brooke, for taking the time to chat with us. It's been so much fun, and we'd love to have you back on the show again sometime if you
anytime.
Yeah, and we will be sending a formal inquiry about some dope ass threads.
Okay.
Because we require them. We need them walking in the streets of St. John. We need everyone to ask, where the fuck did you get your awesome?
Yes.
We need it immediately.
And we'd love to send you, we'll touch base after. We'd love to send you some Strange Groove swag too, if you're up for it.
I would love it. I'll send you some Thunderstruck stuff, and you guys send me some Strange Groove stuff, and we'll be looking good.
We'll be looking so good.
So good.
So good.
Yeah, and anytime you're ever thinking about coming to the East Coast, just give us a call, because honestly, there's so many like spots to stay, great vintage stores, like really cool stuff maybe to source for your business maybe. So if you're ever looking for certain things, like we have some great friends that own some really great stores like that, so might be able to help. So
our paths
sounds great. We'll have to go to a show together.
Yes, that'd be so much fun.
That'd be amazing.
Yeah, that would be fun. Well, thank you so much for having me on. I feel honored that you even like asked. It's been great talking to you guys and meeting you.
Yes, you too.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys, everyone, for listening. And until next time, keep it strange. That was awesome. Thank you.